So hey everyone, welcome back. It's great to be with Kathy again and to explore another aspect of our mental health at this time. Today we're going to be talking about relationships and what goes on in terms of relationships. So Kathy, could you speak a bit to how this time can kind of bring challenges to relationships and marriages?
Yeah, for sure. So probably for most of us, the experience of being home 24/7 with your spouse is a new one. And I would say that for all of us, the things that really irritated us about our spouse, I'm not speaking personally here. But the things that really irritated us about our spouse are going to be just like under the microscope. Um, Even if we had a great marriage before the COVID thing started. But for troubled couples, especially who went into the COVID experience already in conflict, this can be very difficult because there's no out. There's a sense that, we're feeling trapped, there's nowhere to go. And that can just add to your already to the existing anxiety that you have around your relationship, right? But it's tough. It's really tough.
Well, I can see how and I assume that like Kelly and I, not everybody is going into this having the perfect marriage and now it's being stressed. It's like
That's
there's
right.
existing stuff that I think everybody has, right?
Yep. And perhaps, roles that you took on before before the COVID thing that may not work anymore. If mom's working at home or dad's working at home and someone else was traditionally looking after the kids for certain period, like you have to readjust, and that can be really stressful. Thinking at how are we going to do this on the fly, right?
Right, right.
And who gets priority time? If you're both working at home, how do you establish, well, you have to try to establish a rhythm for how you're going to do things, right? And that's a negotiation. And if
Yeah.
you don't have great communication skills before, right, that can be tough.
Well, it's funny because, funny, sad, but everyone's saying, hey, just work from home. Okay, well, you build a home office. Well, now you have two people working from home and sometimes kids schooling from home. And
Yep.
I don't know how many home offices people have, but we've got a fold out table in the bedroom. Then now we have a home office, right?
Yeah.
And
I know of a person who they're operating their business over video, and the only place they had to go with two teenagers in the house was the bathroom. So they made a pact with themselves not to use the facilities, but they arranged something on the wall so it looked like a home office. We have to be creative in these times.
yeah. Now, just as I talk to people, there are a lot of people who, so it's not just those little things that may be getting to people that have always kind of gotten people, but it's like, I've gone to work for the day, I've had a break from that little thing, but it's new things, right? As we talked last time about stress ramping up and self-care and things like that. But when it's two people dealing with that stress, and then now all of a sudden people actually fundamentally behaving differently within the family dynamic, and now all the dynamics have changed. Can you talk a bit to some of that?
Yeah, I think I'm just going to reiterate what I said in our last video. These are really stressful times for everybody. And to be able to recognize that I'm stressed, my spouse is stressed, and perhaps they're engaging in behaviors that are just a reflection of how much stress they're feeling, that it's not about me. When they snap at me or they're irritable with me, it might not be really geared towards me. It might be just their process right now. And I think a really good question for us to be able to ask one another is, how can I be most helpful to you right now, right? Not what's your problem,
Right.
but or even just to say, boy, this has been a tough day. You know, the kids have been off the wall. We've got all these responsibilities. This has been a challenging day. What can we do to de-stress, right? And maybe that's a little bit simplistic, Paul, but
hey, that's a great place to start. No,
yeah,
it's just the nature of that question, because at least when I'm amped up, it always feels like, you know, it's, oh, that person's doing this thing to me,
yeah,
right? And so they're, it's almost like, well, they're not serving me, they're just dragging me down. And that shift of that question of, actually, how can I kind of shift it? Like, how can I serve you?
yep,
And
yep,
hopefully that's reciprocated, right?
yep, yep.
It's
It's
simplistic, but it's important.
it, it's like unplugging from the "this is all about me" to saying, "This probably isn't about me." You know, that this might just be their stress, or it might be they had a bad day, or it might be like just to take that step back and say, what's going on for you right now, uh, and how can I be most helpful? That's a
Mm,
really good place to start, rather than you.
right. Okay. So that you say simplistic, but maybe it's because you live in this counseling world. But that's a shift I don't think a lot of people make.
Yeah,
So what are
yeah,
maybe some other ways that we can kind of deal with the challenges here?
yeah. I think from a eagle flying height, um, when we're feeling irritated with our spouse, or there's an issue, and we kind of tune into ourselves and say, what's happening for me right now? Well, I'm feeling really anxious. I would say this is probably not a really good time to have a difficult discussion with your spouse.
Mm,
Or, if you're feeling angry. So we talked about the physiological aspects of stress last time, Paul. When we're feeling stressed, when we're in that fight or flight, or when we're in that frozen state, there's actually a part of our brain, the thinking part of our brain, that we don't have access to in the same way as we do when we're grounded,
mm,
right? So if you can give yourself a half hour timeout, an hour timeout, and say, I just got to wait on this. I am not in a place where I can have this discussion right now. Or if your spouse is yelling at you and you know that they're escalated, if you can just say, wait a minute, we need a timeout. This is not going to get us anywhere. Neither one of us is thinking logically the way we ought to. Let's come back together and give yourselves a time. Um, and then we can discuss it when we're calmer. What I would encourage you not to do is to go, fine, we can't have this discussion right now, but just say, I'm really escalated right now. I'm really angry, and I do want to have this conversation with you, but we're going to have to do it later when we're calm.
see, that's amazing because, like, we talked about fight, flight, and frozen
Yep,
last time. I've never thought about that in terms of going into a conversation that there's kind of no hope for that conversation if we're in
that's
one of those
right.
three places.
That's right.
Wow.
And I think it's important that we're aware of that,
Hmm.
because if we if we allow ourselves to move ahead with that conversation, what happens is that our amygdalas take over. Alligators, I think, only have an amygdala. I might not be right on the biology. And what do alligators do? They snap,
Right.
right? And our spouses and ourselves, we deserve better than that,
Hmm.
right? So So I would say take a time out, but give yourself a time an appointment when you're going to come back and talk about things, right?
All I'm thinking right now is, y'all, this is free. That's amazing. That's really helpful, Kathy.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to be putting up uh, again, like I did last time, the helplines. If anyone has a question, westportasks@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And don't be nervous to make some of those phone calls if you need help. And something I put in a video a while back is the kids' help phone and the ways to contact them. If you have teens or a young kid, kids who can, text or use the phone, put it up on the fridge and just have it there. And you may
That's a
never
great
know that
idea.
they call, but just to have it visible, that it's like, hey, this is available. You don't need to ask me to call them, to just have it out there. But
Yeah.
just as we're thinking about couples right now, what are some kind of closing thoughts you have for us, Kathy?
I just want to end on a really positive note. When our children were young and finances were limited, we used to put the kids to bed early, and we would have what we called a night out in. So I'd put candles on the table and we'd cook something special. This is an opportunity for you to have nights out in, to have date nights at home. I have a friend who has decided that every 2 weeks she's going to have a theme night. So she and her husband have a Hawaiian night, or they have a Chinese night, and they make a date of it at home. So I think there are ways to be creative, even though we can't date each other like we normally do. But the other thing I wanted to say is, even though you can't meet with a counselor face to face right now, I have found in my work that video counseling is extremely effective. And if you get to a place with your spouse where you just arrive at an impasse, do not hesitate to reach out, because there is video counseling available. And the nice part is, because you're not limited by geography anymore, there are therapists all over Canada who are waiting for your call. So I will also send you, Paul, some links for counseling associations for people that just need extra help to get through this time.
Okay, that's awesome. And those will be on at the end of the video for sure.
Yeah.
And also, you were saying about the date night in. I just thought I'd share. I had friends, and well, I still have friends, but these specific friends would say that when they were young and they're in their rooms for bedtime, they knew every night mom and dad were eating ice cream.
Yeah.
And they would yell from the rooms like, "That's not fair! Why do you get ice cream?" And their mom and dad would always say, "One day you will understand." And now they have kids, and their kids yell, "Why are you having ice cream?" And they say, "One day you will understand." So just taking that time to just, like, no Netflix or no whatever, to just be together. And I'm talking as somebody who needs to do that more. So Kathy,
There's
thank
one
you
more
so
thing I
much.
want to say, Paul, that's really important. Don't assume, I would encourage every couple, don't assume that your partner knows what you need. Well, he should just know, or she should just know that I know. So it's okay for you to say to your partner, so what I really need from you right now is just a hug. Or what I need from you right now is just a listening ear. I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to listen to me. Or I just need you to hold my hand. So don't be afraid to ask. Our spouses are not mind readers.
See, that's so good. I don't think I'll get in trouble for this, but I remember Kelly once saying, "I just wish you knew what I wanted to do for a date night that you planned, right?" And I'm just like, "Well, you're not Julia Robertson, I'm not Richard Gere, and this is like, I'm just a guy trying to figure it out, and I don't intuitively know." And if you look at Richard Gere, I think his actual personal life is a lot different than how he is in the movies, right?
It's only in the movies that they just know.
Exactly. Kathy, thank you so much.
You're so welcome, Paul.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.